would appear eating those cacti raw was a poor decision. But still, even the pain of the prickly cacti traveling through my intestines is only secondary to the pain of losing my mind. I'm seeing things that just shouldn't be possible. In order to combat my ailing mental health, I decided to construct the Tower of Babel out of sticks, stones, and rat feces. It's those sticks in the corner over there. As you can see, I never really finished it. I grew bored partway through. Instead, I started plucking flowers. Surely the elegant flower held the answer to my ailments. And in truth, it seemed to work. Until all the flowers in the immediate area were plucked. Then I saw those cacti and you know the rest. I got hungry, okay? Survival isn't pretty, okay? Just how did I end up like this? I remember it like it was just 27 days, 48 hours, and 86,400 seconds ago. Hello, and welcome. I am Andy William Mackai, and this is Don't Starve. And no, my dear viewer, as much as it sounds like a trendy new diet, it is in fact a survival video game made by Clay Entertainment back in 2013. Now, much like a different video I made for this channel on Terraria, I am a first-timer here as well. But as much as I like to just go on in, this game, unlike any other video game I've covered for this channel, has a story. I know! This being a channel first, I feel as if it is my duty to cover it. As such, self-proclaimed one heck of a scientist, Wilson Percival Hixberry is hard at work away from the prying eyes of the world on his next big project. Unfortunately, he's hit a dead end. Fortunately though, he receives aid from his radio in the form of arcane knowledge. Not one to waste a chance at scientific progress, Wilson gets to work. And when the machine is ready, he hesitantly activates it, much ado because of the radio. That's when Wilson is betrayed, being dragged into a portal leading to the unknown. That's how the game starts, as Maxwell, the voice behind the radio, towers over you. Normally, I'm not one to take enemy advice, but this is a survival game and food would be necessary. First, I had to figure out the controls though. Well, the game had a crafting tab, a clock with a day-night cycle on it, and 3 icons below it. The heart and stomach were obvious, but the brain less so. Soon enough, I encountered a berry bush with berries on them, and a carrot soon after. Wilson would not starve this day. Though as fun as picking food off the ground and eating it raw is, it wouldn't really be enough to survive here. I needed tools for that. Thinking quickly, I crafted a homemade axe using a rock and some sticks I found on the ground. Now I could truly hunt in style. Unfortunately, night approacheth, and I would not be caught with my pants down. Typically, nighttime in survival games shifts the game into a harder setting, with harder mobs and limited vision and such and so on. And I expected nothing different this time. I would need a campfire. To construct it, I needed grass and logs. Fortunately, I already collected some grass while rabbit hunting. The logs would be a different story. or so I thought. Turns out my rabbit hunting axe doubled as an axe. Camp being established, night arrived. And oh boy, I've played my fair share of games, but never have I seen a nighttime as absolute as this in any of them. Look at this! It just takes over the entire screen. Without that campfire, it would be pure black. By this point, I already knew I would be relying on torches and campfires just to see, but I had no idea just how bad it could get. As soon as day broke, I immediately went after firewood and grass, and that's all I did on day 2. I also built a trap, but didn't understand how to use it, so it just kinda sat in my inventory. Here's an interesting thing about Wilson though. Any object or item can be inspected by him to get his viewpoint on it. Silly bean, there's no such thing as Bunnyman. Then it started raining, which added a 4th icon on the HUD, wetness. And to be honest, I still don't know what it does to this day. Though standing under trees seems to work. Anyhow, nighttime was here again. And as I said before, I knew it was visually bad, but still didn't know much about it. So I wasn't really in a hurry to set up a camp. Then the screen went black. And right as I was about to light a fire, something attacked me and took half my health. Then it got me. I chose the retry option and back at the beginning again. Granted, I wasn't too far ahead, so it wasn't a huge loss, but I know how soul crushing it can be to lose hours of progress in an instant. And nighttime? I had no idea what got me. I thought it was those trees. Honestly, this is gonna be a big trial and error kind of game, isn't it? Goody. This time, I was a lot more familiar with what I was supposed to do. So no more randomness. I even made progress with crafting. After the last attempt, I was a lot more cautious of night. See the clock at the right corner? You're only really in danger when it's in the blue. I was still in the orange, so safe. But I didn't care. I wanted no chances. This paranoia took some time to get over. Moreover, trees drop pine cones, which can plant for trees. More trees means more wood. More wood means more safe at night. It was a no-brainer planting them. Daytime and time to explore. And that's how I encountered my first real foe. I ran away. I explored the nearby area, though retreated when evening approached. And like I said before, I had plenty of time, but just didn't want to risk it. That's when my campfire burnt down my spare firewood. Day 3. In my exploring, I encountered a boulder and thought, this would look a lot better in pieces. I encountered other such boulders and provided them with the same kindness. This boulder, though, was next to a brick road. Oh, I thought, this is plot! And followed. Yes, there's bees in this game too. I had to stop once night neared. By the way, as you can see, I still had plenty of time. Day 4, the brick road didn't really lead anywhere. Not much happened after that. I was mainly foraging until a turkey walked on screen. It wasn't hostile, thus I ignored it, until I saw it eating my food. Yes, mine! I gave chase. Not long after, we ran into a thing, a big Maya ritual sort of thing, that on closer inspection, I could interact with, that seemingly did nothing. Day 5. Wilson grew a beard that I completely missed. It just popped out of nowhere. Anyway, I found a skeleton surrounded by loot. Also, the screen was starting to wobble. With that loot, I was able to craft a science machine. Doing so unlocked a bunch more options on the crafting tab. Then I stepped away and they vanished. Looks like I'll have to stay close by it. This night was different than the rest. Wilson heard something. Then I did too, a huffing sound. I spent the rest of the night in fear, though nothing attacked. Day 6. The thing attacked! A black dog. It gave chase and I ran. But I couldn't lose it. I had to fight it. I recognized a pattern. Once it attacks, it stops for a second. That was my chance to retaliate. After a few back and forths, I won and claimed its meat as my own. In celebration, I smashed a boulder. Underneath that boulder, however, was a sinkhole. According to Wilson, there was fortune to be found. I ignored him, as he's an idiot. I had no intention of going cave diving right now. Day 8. Yes, I skipped a day. Just spent it foraging mostly. The spot I chose to make camp didn't have much food. Also, I fell behind on wood collecting. I could have tried to find these things, but I decided to explore the sinkhole instead. I had to sit through a loading screen while the cave loaded, which was odd. The sinkhole led to a wasteland with a rock crab guy. I didn't really know what to expect from the sinkhole, but this wasn't it. I was not prepared for this, literally. I barely had anything on me, so I just left. Like I said, I didn't have much on me. So once night rolled around, it rolled on top of me. Well, that's the end of attempt 2. Or not. Turns out the pig altar was a revival station. Amazing! I could also grave rob from my own skeleton. Fantastic! But does it work multiple times? Oh. It was a learning experience. That's right. Oh, also, I'm gonna be skipping more things from now on. You don't need to see me collecting berries for 4 hours straight, do you? Moving on. Don't Starve is a survival game. As such, you spent a good deal of it surviving.
Yeah, no shit, Sherlock!
Shut up! Collecting food, fighting enemies, yes, that's a giant eyeball with legs, and managing resources. It does get annoying though. For example, daytime feels like it lasts moments, then it's night. Night is dangerous and must be prepared for during the day by collecting wood and food. These things, while easy to find, run out surprisingly fast. And that's how they forced me to play, collecting stuff. I opted for a camping strategy. I grew a little forest for myself. I figured out how to use traps too. You're supposed to drop them on the ground like some sort of dirty sock. Savagery. I'd like to think I did pretty well. That's until one of my trees grew legs. I didn't know if it was hostile or not, but it was near the camp and night was approaching. I had to get rid of it. It's a tree, so I tried burning it, but couldn't tell how damaging it was as it kept coming towards me. I switched to a spear instead. Maybe that would work. No, I just got my ass kicked. I now no longer trust evergreen trees. Day 9, night. I was still using the camping strategy, like before. Unlike before though, no trees this time. It was next to a bunny field, plus there was a revival station nearby, making it the perfect location. Night was almost here. I wasn't worried though, as I was well prepared. But this night was different. It was a full moon. I could see. But I, Mackai, am no fool. It was a trap. So I stayed at camp just to be safe. The next night was much the same. And much like the last night, I ignored it. When day came, I got chased by a hound, like in the previous attempt. That, I found, was a common occurrence. It's something the game does every now and then to make sure you're not getting comfortable. The next night was normal. I mainly stayed in this area working on camp and subsisting on bunnies. There's not much to talk about, and there's a reason for it I'll get into later, but for now, moving on. Day 15. I got attacked by 3 hounds this time. I couldn't handle that, so I dumped them on a nearby tall bird. Day 19. Nighttime. I was in the camp like the rest of the time when a jingle started to play. Along the ground, a shadowy hand slithered towards me. Only it was after the campfire. Day 20. Nighttime. So far, the brain icon didn't really affect anything, but by this point, it got so low that things started to get weird. A silhouette of what appeared to be a madman and a galloping shadow were passing by the screen. And that was only at the halfway point. I could, fill it up, but I didn't know how. Stomach, eat something. Heart, don't get hit. Brain? Brain? What brain need? And that wasn't my only concern. Hounds were coming. By the time I finally lost them, it was evening. And if you've been wondering why the screen looked different, more bluish, it's because winter. I made it back to camp and cooked some of the monster meat. That was a bad decision. Eating it tanked the brain meter. And my rabbits turned black for some reason and dropped monster meat. The shadows were now finally real enough to hit me, and I couldn't go anywhere because it was night. So I spent the rest of the night running in circles from it. That's when a second one showed up. I revived soon after, but didn't feel like continuing at this point, so I just threw it. In this attempt, I mainly spent my time next to camp in this one little area, spending half my time collecting wood and the other half finding food for Wilson's bottomless pit of a stomach. That man is insatiable. And what little time I had not collecting was ultimately pointless, because by the time I got anywhere, it turned to night and I went back to camp. I literally tied myself to it. And just what is the point of hunting rabbits if you're just as full if you eat berries? It felt like I couldn't or shouldn't have a camp. Instead, maybe I should have tried to roam and gather. A roaming strategy, if you would. Is that a raccoon? And how did this new change work out for me then? Pretty well, actually. I found a wormhole. It dropped sanity. I found a revival station. A tree with a face. A mystical, mysterious door portal called Maxwell's Door that promises adventure across worlds. I ignored it. A second altar. A pigman. And a ring thing surrounded by a ring of evil flowers. It looked important, so I picked it up. By the way, it's actually called Ring Thing. I didn't name it. A cocoon! I killed it. This was all great and all, but as you can see, the sanity bar was getting low again. To make matters worse, I ate a green mushroom that lowered it even more. I had to find a way to fix it. For a while now, I had a hunch that the crafting menu held the key. It did. You see, crafting stuff helps fill the sanity bar. It can't be the same thing over and over though. It has to be new each time, or else it won't work. Well, that was great and all, but from my perspective at the time, the game wasn't a timer. After all, I would run out of new things to build eventually. After that, the name of the game changed for me, from Don't Starve to Don't Go Insane. Sometimes you can find statues of Maxwell out in the wild. They are a good source of marble for crafting. Also, one of the best ways of fighting enemies in this game is to let someone else do it. Take this for example. That hound stood no chance. Anyway, I was looking around for something, food or something to craft, anything really, when I spotted a fishy weirdo picking at me from behind a tree. I was flattered, of course, but that is no way to approach a gentleman. So I got closer to tell him as such. When he broke into a sprint. The struggles of beauty. I had to put him down, unfortunately. Eventually, I found a second way to increase sanity. In the desert, yes, the desert, you can find tumbleweeds. They're kind of like lucky bags, meaning you can get random stuff from them. I, for example, found a blueprint that after using increased my sanity. Good stuff. Well, like I said, it's random, so good luck. Another way to restore sanity is to shave. What self-respecting man would do that? These methods, while helpful, were not enough. Thankfully, I had a trick up my sleeve. Back at camp, and I know I said I wouldn't make one, but I kinda had to at this point. I used the marble from before to build marble armor. That also rose my sanity and gave me a set of marble armor. Bad part is, it gave me a set of marble armor. I had nothing to do with it, so it just sort of sat there. It felt like a waste, so I thought of a way to use it. See, in the desert, you can find hound packs, and I thought I should go and fight them. It was a bad idea. Sure, it protects and all, but it moves like you're walking through molasses. This is the type of armor you wear if you need to go full unga bunga on somebody but are too lazy to dodge. Next thing of interest that happened was me doing my best beekeeper impression. Sadly, I lacked the dress code and got stung pretty badly for it. My boomerang didn't help much either. My health fell to a pathetic low, and I got desperate to fix it. I started eating stuff, carrots, berries, nuts. I was so desperate I even ate flowers. They restored a measly 1 HP, but if I collected enough of them, I could get back to full health eventually. After 2 in-game days of doing just that, I noticed something. Picking flowers restored sanity. I was shocked by this. Truly, knowledge is power, especially in a game like this. This made the game a lot more manageable now. I was back to worrying about food again. Don't starve indeed. But if saying knowing about something gives you the power to deal with said something, then the inverse is also true. Which is my way of saying, when winter came back and turned Wilson into a frozen popsicle, it wasn't my fault. It was my lack of knowledge's fault. Winter. I just didn't understand it. I didn't understand when it was safe to walk out in it or when it was not. It seemed so random to me. I slowly froze to death. I knew I had to stay near fire, so I lit one. Only it was an endothermic fire, so it burned cold, not hot. I didn't last. I spent the remainder of my time around camp, but food and sanity became problems. Things just stopped. No flowers grew, food got hard to find. I knew I wasn't going to last, so I thought I might as well spend what little time I had left wisely. Maxwell's door. I was going to enter it. It was bad, guys. It was bad. No, I won't speak about it. I'm too traumatized. I struggled on until day 26 when a pack of hounds chased me. During the chase, I noticed a red mushroom, and I picked it up. don't eat red mushrooms. The attempt ended in a very anticlimactic way as I just froze. It became clear that if I wanted to beat this game, I would have to learn how to survive winter. I should find some flowers soon. Things were going pretty well this time. If you had a quarter anytime I said that. There was a bunch of new things too. Like a bunch of fishy weirdos and pig guys got into a turf war. And there was this patch of what looked like eyeballs. And for a second I thought I was playing Terraria. And I figured out you can pick up berry bushes with a shovel. You have to fertilize them if you want to get berries off of them though. Aside from that, not much new this time. And I was feeling pretty confident because of it. After all, knowledge is power, and I had all the knowledge. Except for winter. I still had no clue about that. And that was the goal this time. Survive winter. Objective, survive. That's how I spent my time on this map, preparing for winter, in any way I could. About the map, though, there was something weird about it this time. Two somethings. One, it was raining constantly. And if it wasn't raining, it would still be raining. And the second, it randomly started blasting me with this intense music. And you know how it is. When music like this plays, it's time for combat. But nothing was happening. And it left me confused and nervous. Then I would forget and move on. And then it would randomly play every now and then. It was nerve-wracking. Ultimately, the big twist of the attempt came at day 19. I was fighting a frog, trying to get its legs. You know, nothing weird. When the edges of the screen turned yellow, I thought the frog must have poisoned me. It soon went away, however, until it came back. It can't be poison. That was too long, I thought. Then I took damage. Wilson, thankfully, was helpful enough to help out. Shade needed, he said, so shade I gave. At the time, though, I thought, my God, it must be acid rain, even though it wasn't. I slowly made my way back to camp using the trees as cover. By this point, I knew what was happening, but I got the confirmation when I lit a campfire and got burned for it. This wasn't a winter map, but a summer map. I was unprepared, but knew that I had to keep cold now. The endothermic fire came to use. Problem with the endothermic fire is you need nitro ore to make it. And I only had 15. That wasn't enough to survive. Plus, food was a problem because it always is in this game. It didn't take long to come up with a plan though. The deciduous forest, or as I like to call it, the red forest, have these trees called birchnut trees that also drop seeds that are edible. Plus, it's a forest, so there's firewood. And that was the plan. Survive until summer ended. Yep, that was the plan. How'd it go? Awful. Before I even started, I was attacked by a group of hounds. I fought them off, sure, but that left me with virtually no health. I couldn't take any damage now. Not from mobs, nor from the heat. Every point counted now. I get back to camp. The endothermic fire was out. Not wanting to overheat, I made another one, wasting 2 ore. 13 left. I started walking there, but got paranoid due to the low health. So I had to stop and make a fire. 11 ore left. I had to stop again because it was night. 9 ore left. I finally get there and start a fire. 7 ore left and started chopping trees. I got a few of those birch nuts I was talking about, but I have to cook them first to eat them. Not a problem, right? Well, endothermic fire doesn't cook. And you may be saying, no shit, Sherlock, it's magical cold fire. How could it possibly cook? And to that I say, are you even listening to yourself? It's magical cold fire. It should be able to cook. That's why it's magical. Anyway, I made a second fire and I cooked the birch nuts. But it wasn't enough to fill up that greedy pig Wilson. But I had something else to cook. A mandrake. that knocked me out when I did. That was weird, I thought. Probably won't happen now that it's cooked and ate it and passed out again. This time when Wilson got up, an entire day passed. There's a drug joke in there somewhere, but I'm not making it. Both fires were out, so I had to make another one. 5 oars left. Same day, nighttime. A shadowy hand shows up and targets the endothermic fire. What a jerk! It had to go for the one I actually needed. I made another one. 3 oars left. This wasn't going to work. New plan. Next to the red forest, there's a desert. I go there, get ore. Simple. I get there, but I'm forced to make a fire due to the overheating. 1 ore left. I needed that ore now more than ever. I go to get some. Unfortunately, the closest boulder is next to a pack of hounds. I get chased by it and some random robots, then start overheating. I make one more attempt to find a boulder, but I gave up due to the heat damage. I took cover under a tree like before when this whole summer thing started, but for some reason, this time it didn't work. I tried a different tree, didn't work. Tried another one, didn't work. Tried another one, didn't work. After trying with what felt like half the forest with no results, my health was getting really low now. I made one last try, but with an evergreen tree. Didn't work. I tried another one. Didn't work. What the fuck happened here? I still don't understand even now. I revived, yeah, sure. But I wasn't going to survive and you know it. I had nothing. No tools, no ores, no food, nothing. I had one last card to play though. I had some mandrakes left. I could use them to maybe bar out the summer, man. Nope, I just got chased by hounds instead. Still, my suffering wasn't over yet. I had a second revive. How cruel to give a man false hope only to crush it like some deranged god. All of this happened in the span of half an hour. It felt like a personal attack to me. Still, I tried as hard as I could and failed. I had no idea how to deal with the heat, but I improved a lot since the last try. Yeah, sure. But the world I was placed in was fucked from the start. Constant rain, only for it to lead into summer, not winter like I expected. Fuck off. And what does wet debuff even do anyway? It would appear you've already seen this part. Skipping! By now, I knew this game pretty well. Feels like I've said that before. Find food, avoid fights unless necessary, and pick plenty of flowers. The only real problems now were summer and winter, and I was working on those. Objective survive. That's the plan. But I digress. What I'm trying to say is, if I'm going to be in danger at this point, it would be because I didn't expect it. So when I say a Scottish walrus walked on screen, pulled out a blow dart and shot me with it while I just sat there and watched in confusion, you better believe I didn't expect it. This one just sucked. Just when I thought I understood all the dangers the game had to offer, this happens. I revived though, but the altar was far from the camp, and it was winter, so I was going to freeze soon. I managed to make my way back to camp. All I needed to do was light a fire before I froze. The run was over. Hey, are you gonna get up? It would seem my body has collapsed due to sheer insanity. Or is it the other way around? Oh well, that's not important right now. What is the show must go on. Imagination powers, go! There we go. This gets the job done. Be quiet. You know the deal by now. I get in, look for a suitable camp location while living off the land. I found one, set up camp, then prepared for winter or summer. Objective survive. This time, however, I decided to change my approach to combat. See, since the beginning, I avoided it. Not due to fear or anything, honest. It's just that there's no benefits to getting into a fight. The hounds, for example. If you beat them, they drop monster meat. That once eaten drops sanity, as you know. And if I didn't do so good, I get my ass kicked. See, there's just no reason to engage. I'm not a coward. Instead, I'm smart. Yes, smart. But well, it's like there's no reasons not to fight. Spiders, for example, they drop spider glands that you can use to craft healing items, healing slaves. I needed those spider glands. So I started harassing the local spider population in order to get them. After a hard day's work asserting my dominance, I relaxed standing by the campfire. But that's when an old evergreen foe lumbered into the fire. Normally, I wouldn't get close to it. But this was one of those nights where the hounds attack, so I thought maybe I could use them against it. My ploy worked, though they didn't last long. I could have walked away, but I was curious. Against my better judgment, I attacked, and won. Too bad the fire burned all the loot, turned it to ash. Speaking of evergreen trees, ever since attempt 3, when one of them turned into a tree guard and flattened me, I've avoided them like the plague. I was now exclusively a birch nut tree guy. They, like the evergreen tree, can be used for firewood, but unlike the evergreen, they also drop food, making them the superior tree. And, as a bonus, they don't even try and kill me, until they try to kill me. What do I even say to this? Honey, the eggplants are trying to eat me again! I had to burn my forest down. Luckily though, that solved the problem. Long story short, I also no longer trust birchnut trees. It was well and truly winter. I had my farm set up and bay bushes ready to go. The plan was to hunker down and camp until summer passed. I was confident, smug even. This would be easy. Then I noticed my crops weren't growing. It was winter. No shit, they weren't growing. I slowly limped past winter. My lack of food was difficult, but not impossible. Let's just say I was forced to get creative. For example, I would use the hounds to distract the pigmen guerrilla fighters and steal their much-needed berries. Yeah, those pigmen guerrilla fighters, they're a thing. Or during the night of a full moon, I would sneak into a penguin huddle and steal their precious eggs while they slept. Hunger, however, was not my only problem, as Wilson's slowly dimming mind also fell. Finding flowers was proving challenging. I found a solution though. In the survival tab, I found a tent that claimed to restore sanity in exchange for a bit of my hunger bar. This was an exchange I was more than willing to make. That, however, was a mistake. It wiped out my hunger bar. Having no choice, I consumed what little food I had. It wasn't enough for that bottomless pit that is Wilson, though. I needed more, ASTAT! The rabbits, however, weren't biting. The penguins were guard full of their eggs. What little I got wasn't enough. I tried bees, not enough. In the middle of my desperate struggle for food, a change occurred. I didn't know what was going on, but between Wilson's warnings and that ominous exhaling, I was worried something was about to happen. Then it happened!
Is that the deer clubs?
Yeah, it is. And well, the deer club showed up and started wrecking everything. My camp was gone, and it wasn't finished yet. It went after the pigs next. Holy shit, that thing's a force of nature! They didn't stand a chance, but neither did I without that camp. I barely survived with it. The run was over, so I attacked. What a mind fuck that was for me. One of the bosses I fought in the last game showed up here. I thought I was seeing things. Turns out it's originally from Don't Starve, but was part of a permanent crossover update for Terraria. Man, between Don't Starve and Dungeon Defenders 2, Terraria really gets around, huh? With what happened with the deer clubs, I knew surviving winter was impossible. I didn't have a plan this time, I just wandered about. I mean, really wandered about. I covered huge parts of the map without caring about camps or plans or strategy. I was on autopilot the entire time, until eventually I stumbled upon the door again. In the 9 attempts I have made, I've only found the door thrice, this being the third. The door is sort of like a challenge mode, in where you have to beat 5 randomly generated worlds, each with their own challenges. At this point, I had no idea what to do or even what I should be doing, so I thought I'm gonna take advantage of this. My goal was to beat one of those 5 worlds, no matter what or how long it took. 3 real days later, I was no longer the same Mackai as before. I was reborn. Better, smarter, stronger, smarter, handsomer. And no, I didn't beat the door. I just beat one of the worlds. But that was more than enough. You may have noticed that I haven't been speaking much about what you're supposed to be doing. That's because I didn't have a clue. I had guesses, sure, but nothing concrete. Until now, that is. And it turns out my guesses weren't that far off after all. See, when you're dropped off on the map in the beginning, you're supposed to look for 5 things called things. The wooden thing, the ring thing, the box thing, the crank thing, and the metal potato thing. That's what they're called, I swear. These things were obviously important, so anytime I found one, I picked it up. I just didn't know what to do with them. Until now. You're supposed to combine them with the wood thing as the base, then jump into the portal they create. Doing that takes you back to the beginning. Wait, that can't be right. Just to be safe, I did it again. I got the things, made the thing, and back at the start again. I tried one more time, and at the start again, and again, and again, and again, and again, until World 10. This is when Don't Starve's true nature made itself clear to me. It's like Tetris, and where if you clear a level, it takes you to level 2, then level 3, then 4. There's no end to it. Of course, you can keep doing that until you fail, so survive world 350 plus X infinity. But for me, going from world 1 to world 10 was just about the most boring thing I've ever done. Getting the things to make the thing over and over again, ugh, no. But alright, I compared this game to Tetris. What do they do in Tetris when they beat the game? Well, you can't really beat Tetris, but the speedrunning community does this thing where they play so far into the game it glitches onto itself. Eventually, if you play through that glitch clusterfuck long enough, it takes you back to the start. They call that the rebirth screen. And no, I'm not playing this game until it glitches like that. I meant making up shit as I go along. Let's keep it simple. Number 1, I will kill the deer clubs. Number 2, I will survive a full year in the game. Not in real life, I would go crazy. And number 3, explore the underground. Simple, right? Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! Okay, maybe not that last one. But let's just say the underground kingdom of Bunnymen isn't so far-fetched after all. Random nonsense time, go! As soon as I got in, I hugged the outline of the map and followed it. This way I could uncover the entire map without having to wander about at random. I learned this little trick when I was traveling from World 1 to World 10. It's the easiest way I found of collecting all the things, aside from the divining rod, that is. And I'll talk about that later. Wait, stop there for a second. That is the beast fruit. It puts beasts to sleep. This will be important later. Once I had the whole map scouted, I had to decide where I would fight the deer clubs. My two choices were a tentacle-infested swamp with fishy weirdos and blood-sucking mosquitoes, or a spider-infested forest where pigmen, robots, and spiders constantly fight for dominance. A difficult choice to make. One that I chose the forest because it had a revival alternative. That's why. Also, you may be wondering just why I would choose these two as options. They were clearly dangerous. And you're right. And that's the point. If it was dangerous to me, it would probably be dangerous for the deer clubs too. At least that was my logic. I set up camp, but didn't stay, because a spider-infested forest is a terrible spot to survive the winter in. For that, I built a second camp in the Red Forest, and waited, and winter. Yeah, you're probably expecting me to mess up or panic like the last times, but not this time. After my experiences with the Door of Adventure, I don't find winter that bad anymore. In fact, I kind of like it now. It's a nice change of pace from the standard gameplay that forces you to get a little creative. Like these moles, for example. If you drop a mineral, they will go and exit their tunnels to grab it. That's when you attack. Or with rabbits, you can drop a trap on top of their burrows and use a shovel to dig them up. That makes them run right towards the trap. Doing things like that, as well as keeping a thermostone on you and lighting grass and trees on fire to keep you warm, should be enough to get you past winter, as it was for me. Until I messed up and you saw that coming, didn't you? I mistimed the deer clubs by a day. Instead of me being in the spider camp like was the plan, I was caught unawares and it wrecked my camp. When day came around, I got a closer look at the deer clubs, and it's not the force of nature I believed it to be. It doesn't really care about you, just like destroying buildings. That's it. In fact, remember that beast flute? It works on it. This thing really isn't what I expected it to be. Was I still going to fight it though? No, not here. As far as I was concerned, I missed my chance. I would have to try again next winter. As for my wrecked camp, there was enough rubble to build a second camp further away. I just kind of went on surviving like that. Nothing happened until day 35 when winter ended. Gradually, it started raining more, with an all too familiar tune in the background. Summer was approaching. I did what I could to prepare, mined ice, grew watermelons, and crafted chilled amulets in what little time I had. I also built on top of the camp, but no matter how much I did, ultimately it felt pointless in the face of the unrelenting summer heat. I hate summer in this game. In winter, I could just light things on fire as I walked by them to keep warm. Summer? There's no such option here. The simplest way to deal with the heat is to eat ice that slowly melts in your inventory. But that won't matter much, because of how fast you'll be eating them. One way or another, you will run out. Sure, you have other options, like the chilled amulet, but you have to jump through several hoops just to craft one. First, you're going to need a press de hatator. To craft one, you need to capture 4 rabbits and make 4 wooden planks, so 12 logs. And then you need a top hat. For the top hat, you need 6 silk, so fight spiders. And that's how you make the press de hatator. Next, you need to find a blue gem. To get one, you need to fight a blue hound and hope it drops it. It's a 20% chance after all. Or you could always just dig up someone's grave for it. Also random, by the way. Then you can craft the chilled amulet. Okay, maybe it's not that bad. Maybe I'm just being lazy. But that doesn't make it any better. Look at this. See that? It only lasts minutes. Also, it equips on the armor slot, so no backpack for you. All of these items are like that, except the fashion melon. It equips on the head, making it by far the best choice. Too bad growing watermelons is random. Also, there's random bushfires that happen every now and then. I lost half a camp to it once. Given all this nonsense, how did I deal with it? I didn't. I built a siesta and slept through the summer. It was boring. The most boring thing I did since I went from World 1 to World 10. But I got through it. I did it. By the way, I know I'm bringing this up at a random time, but before the summer started, there was this giant deer duck thing that got off-screened by a bunch of bees. I didn't know how to bring it up, but I wanted to, so here it is. I had survived an entire year like I wanted to, and felt nothing for it. All I had left to do was fight the Deerclops. Back at Spider Camp, using what I had learned from the Deerclops encounter, I built a line of hay walls leading into the spider dens. Hopefully it would follow them in there while it was going about its destructive stroll. Let's skip ahead to the encounter. Day 103. It showed up as expected. The plan, as you know, was to lead it to the spiders. But as soon as it showed up, I put it to sleep with the beast flute. I did that because I didn't want to fight it at night. It soon woke up though, and I was forced to put it back to sleep again. Then it woke up, and again I put it to sleep again. After all that, it was only still the beginning of night. This wasn't going to work. A thought crossed my mind just then. If I attack it, won't it chase me? I can lead it to the spiders. This way, I can save the camp too. And it did work that way, until it lost interest and went back to destroying my camp. I had only just started and the plan was already thrown out the window. I waited till day before I tried making any more big brain moves. Finally, I was able to lead it to the spiders and the pigs too. All I had to do was sit back and watch. Except, they didn't do shit. The Deerclops has an AoE attack, and it got them all in one swipe. I put it to sleep again, and quickly realized I'd have to fight it directly. As I expected, I didn't really last long. That's why I built a revival amulet just in case. Though, thinking about it now, I should have built more. I didn't last this long either. I had one last revive though. I knew I couldn't beat it by then. Maybe if I had used the flute and healing slaves more efficiently, I could have done better. But either way, it was hard to tell. Was it taking damage or not? I just don't know. Oh well, I tried my damnedest, and it was all for naught. Or so I thought, until it went down. I was floored. I had done it. I won! Too bad I couldn't enjoy the victory, as the spiders finally decided to do something by eating me. That, and I was freezing to death. I tried what I could to survive, eating raw meat and even the Deerclops' eye, just to get what little HP I could. There was nothing I could use for fire either. Against all odds, I managed to make it to some grass. All I had to do was make a torch, only I misclicked and made endothermic fire instead. I tried one more time. I got enough grass for the torch. I made the torch. All I had to do was light a fire. Damn it! What a roller coaster and a half that was for me. Still, I had completed what I set out to do. And nothing really happened. No fireworks, no good jobs, kids, no nothing. The game just went on. Call me new fashioned, but I like it when a game has a clear-cut ending. There's something missing without it, you know. You know that saying, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey? I think that saying fits Don't Starve to a T. I had way more fun surviving on the map than finding the things to make the thing. But there was only so many times I could go on that journey before the journey itself became boring. I went personally about 19 days. The attempts, the door, the Deerclop stuff, and I had seen all the game had to offer. And the journey was just bleh. And I think the creators of this game know about this weakness because of Don't Starve's DLCs. See, from the start, I had been playing on the Reign of Giants DLC that adds on to the base game. I had tried to add the other two so I could play all three of them at once, but for some reason that didn't really work out. It wasn't until I played Shipwreck and then Hamlet that I understood why. The journey had changed from a field survival to a swashbuckling adventure and then to a exotic field fantasy forest thing. Now I could get back into it again. But these two would grow boring eventually. But that's what you get in Don't Starve. 3 journeys to go on. Well, there's this one other thing to keep things interesting. Flavor. You know Wilson? the character I've been playing since the beginning, he isn't the only character. There are others in the game. And if Wilson is like a vanilla ice cream, then the others are different flavors of ice cream. Like Wolfgang, who is like a rocky road, or WX78, who is like if somebody put batteries in your ice cream. Then there's Wes. Wes is like if you go to eat ice cream, only you trip and the ice cream falls on the ground, and all you're left with is the ice cream cone. That's Wes. All of these characters have their own strengths, weaknesses, and quirks to discover, Woody being my own personal favorite. And if you've played with him, you know exactly why. All of that having been said, when do I think this game is at its absolute best? Well, in my opinion, it's when you know enough about the game to get by, but still don't know everything the game has to throw at you. For me, that was between attempts 7 and 9 before the Door of Adventure. Look, what I'm trying to say is, the less you know about this game going into it, the better it's going to be when it gets good. Which means you messed up watching this video, not gonna lie. That's why I've been so vague with all the details. If you've watched any of my other videos, you know how overboard I go with all the explaining. That and being incredibly well-spoken, handsome, and well-groomed. But I digress. There was this one other time when the game was very good, when it challenged me. The Door of Adventure. That's how we're going to end this. Also, mega spoiler warning for this part of the video. The Door of Adventure is a lot like the normal game. You still have to find the things to make a portal and escape. Do this 5 times in a row and you win. The only difference is the environment. Normally you spawn in either spring or fall, giving you a chance to gather your bearings. But here it's not so simple. The door has 6 worlds, but you will only see 5 of them. And the last one is set, so you will only play 4 of them. These worlds are called A Cold Reception, Archipelago, King of Winter, The Game is Afoot, 2 Worlds. And the last one I'll talk about separately, as it is by far the most unique. It's random, so you don't get a choice in which one you get to play first. But in my experience, the King of Winter is usually the first one, so I'll start with that. As soon as you spawn in, it's already winter, so you don't get a chance to prepare or ease into it. It's go time. Nearby, you can find a divining rod and a skeleton with a backpack. If you're lucky, this backpack will have a thermal stone in it. If not, things just got even more difficult. From then on, you need to balance finding food with staying warm and moving forwards with the divining rod. It would lead you to the things. When I first played this level, it felt impossible, but it's not though. There's always food to be found. Mushrooms, moles, penguin eggs, even monster meat if need be. Other than that, keep a torch on you and light trees on fire as you go. This will keep you warm. If you can't find anything to light on fire, then drop an item like grass or a log instead. Light that and you'll be fine. Beating King of Winter is about trial, error, and knowledge. Next is The Game is Afoot. Like King of Winter, this is also a winter map. So what I said before applies here too. The main difference is, to find some of the things you need to cross bridges full of enemies. Best advice I can give is to run past them and don't stop. But if it's tall birds, wait until they fall asleep first. Next is A Cold Reception. At first, I thought this was a normal map, but it's not. Seasons pass very fast on this map, so it can get very difficult if you don't get through it fast enough. Next is Archipelago. This is one of the easier maps in my opinion. The gimmick here is instead of one landmass, it's a few islands that you will have to jump across using wormholes. Other than that, it's a normal map. Next is 2 Worlds, the easiest map. Here, like the name implies, is 2 islands connected via wormhole. One island has all the good biomes, forests, fields, etc., etc., and the other has all the bad ones, swamps, deserts, etc., etc. Feel free to take your time on this map if you need a break. Before I get to the last one, I need to bring some things up first. When you go from world to world, your health, sanity, and hunger bars carry over to the next world, so keep an eye on that. and you can only keep 4 items with you, so be smart with the choices you make here. I personally always bring with me a full stack of flint, sticks, and grass. That way I don't have to waste time looking for them. Other than those, you can pre-build things in the crafting menu, but not use them. That way you can use them anytime you need. Since you've already paid the costs, you won't have to pay the costs again. And the last thing I wanted to bring up is Maxwell. I said before that this game doesn't have an ending, and that's not entirely true. See, after dumping you into the world, Maxwell basically just disappears from the game. You can find statues of him here and there, but no continuation from the original plotline. But in the Door of Adventure, you encounter him again. I didn't think much of it, however. I just thought it was like when he talks to you in the beginning of a survival map, just taunting you. Until I got to World 3 and Jesus! Us traveling through the worlds is killing him. And if before I wanted to clear the doors to see what happens, now I really wanted to see what happens. By the time you get to World 5, he is clearly on his last legs. Getting to him though won't be easy, because first we need to get through World 5, Darkness. In case it wasn't obvious yet, it is clearly a descriptive name. Here there is no day-night cycle, just night, making it just as difficult as you can imagine. Thankfully it's just night and not winter or summer along with it. The map itself seemed normal enough. I could find food, trees, or just like always. The truth right here was the darkness. And can I just say, I find it incredibly poetic how the first thing that killed me in the game was also the last challenge the game had to offer. After wandering around a bit, I found a light pillar. It would seem things weren't as bad as I first thought. Now, if you're playing World 5 for the first time and don't have any knowledge of it beforehand, you're probably going to fail on your first attempt, like I did. I got to a bridge full of robots. I thought if I just hugged the wall and kept moving, it would lead me out. It didn't. Instead I got trapped in a corner and pummeled. I got back to World 5 a day later, made sure to bring a miner's helmet, and pre-build a meat effigy just in case. But I wasn't the only one who changed. The map did too. It spawned me in the middle of a swamp, the worst possible location to be in at night due to poor visibility and the hostile mobs, in the fishy weirdos, mosquitoes, spiders, and tentacles. But I had to do this. I used my old strategy of hugging the wall and slowly revealed the map. I was tense, but things were going well. I had plenty of food. Eventually, I got out of the swamp and found the ring thing, box thing, and crank thing. That's where my luck ended. I circled the entire map and couldn't see where to go next, so I made to circle again, this time in extreme detail. I searched every nook, cranny, and corner and still found nothing. My food slowly ran out and my sanity was slowly falling. It wasn't until I circled the map a third time that I found a small corner I didn't cover. Now I could progress again. Problem was, it was a bridge full of robots again, and by golly, was there a lot of them. Thankfully, I found the potato thing and some much needed carrots. The only thing left was the wooden thing. But like before, I couldn't find it. I circled the area and found nothing. I thought I must have missed it in the last area and went back past the robots again. I was on my last food item and had a choice to make. Circle the map a fourth time or go back the way I came and explore the robot area one more time. A gamble, basically. It was the night of a full moon, so this was my only real chance to explore the robot area. I got lucky. I found it. I wasted no time and built the portal. I had won. Panic quickly set in, as I wasn't done. Cautiously, I followed the path laid before me. And found the man himself. What a twist, huh? The puppet master was a puppet himself. From the start, Maxwell was just using what little control he had by bringing Wilson here. That also explains those skeletons you see throughout the map. They were probably people Maxwell brought here before Wilson, but failed to reach him. That also explains the other characters in the game, too. Poor Wilson, though. And that text in the end, that's what we call a subtle sequel bait. The game then kicks you out of the door. Only you're not using Wilson, but Maxwell, further cementing how f***ed Wilson is. But honestly, the biggest takeaway I had from playing Maxwell was, when you're attacked in the dark, Maxwell knows what's attacking you. He calls it Charlie. And homina, it can stab me any day. And if you want to find out more, you play the DLCs. And that's Don't Starve, a quaint little game. What it does incredibly well, that's for sure. And while it does technically have an infinite play life cycle, it doesn't really feel that way. You will put it down eventually. I would recommend this game for people who want to get into the survival genre. And who knows, if you like what you've played, perhaps you could try out the DLCs, provided you want to kick $12 their way. And I know I've been speaking a lot about DLCs, but in my opinion, it's the only way to get the full Don't Starve experience. But that's not to say that's all Don't Starve has to offer. You see, back in 2016, Clay Entertainment made a sequel in the name of Don't Starve Together. And I know what you're thinking, am I gonna play that too? No. It's called Don't Starve Together, not Don't Starve by itself. I have no friends. But I don't need friends. The only thing I need is me, myself, and I, and you, the viewer. Or maybe I could dupe someone into playing. Yeah. All of that having been said, this has been Andy William Mackai, signing out. Hey, nothing bad happened this time. Wait a second. I would rather go insane.